The last train from Warsaw. The summer of 1944 hung over Warsaw like a held breath. Katarzyna Nowak stood at her apartment window on Marszałkowska Street, watching German patrols below. 5 years of occupation had carved away her softness, leaving sharp cheekbones and harder eyes. At 26, she'd become someone she barely recognized, a resistance operative who trafficked in false papers and hidden Jews. 3 quick footsteps on the stairs, pause, 2 more. The signal. She opened the door before Tomasz Kolodziej could knock. He slipped inside, carrying his worn leather satchel with unusual care. "The papers you needed," he said, pulling out forged documents. "But there's news. The Home Army is planning an uprising. Soon, maybe weeks." Tomasz was 32, all hard angles and determination. Before the war, he'd been an architect. Now he designed escape routes and, occasionally, destruction. "How many will die?" Kasia asked quietly. He moved beside her at the window. "We're dying anyway. At least this way we die fighting." His hand found hers. Somewhere over 3 years of working together, something had shifted between them. Every goodbye might be the last. A sharp knock interrupted them, not their signal. "Please," came a girl's voice. "I need help." Kasia opened the door to find a teenager, blonde hair matted with blood, cradling a broken arm. "They killed my parents. The SS is coming." They pulled her inside just as truck engines rumbled below. There was a hiding space behind the wardrobe, barely 3 feet wide. They pushed the girl inside and tried to look normal. "Kiss me," Kasia said suddenly. "We need to look like a couple." Tomasz didn't hesitate. The door burst open. 3 SS officers, weapons drawn. The lead officer was tall and thin with predator's eyes. "We're looking for a girl," he said in German-accented Polish. "Blonde, 16. Seen anyone?" They played their roles, startled lovers caught in a private moment. The officers searched methodically while Kasia's heart hammered. He opened the wardrobe, checked everywhere. "Papers." They produced documents. The officers studied them with agonizing slowness. "You work at the textile factory?" he asked Tomasz. "Yes, sir." Finally, he handed back their papers. "The girl murdered a German soldier. The penalty for harboring enemies is death. Very slow death." After they left, they freed the girl from hiding. Tomasz prepared to move her to safety in the old town. Before he left, he took Kasia's hand. "After this is over, when Warsaw is free, will you—" "Don't make plans for after," she interrupted. "There might not be an after. There has to be. Otherwise, what are we fighting for?" The thunder breaks. August 1, 1944. The uprising would begin at 5 o'clock, hour W, for WWII. The outbreak. Kasia assigned her network their positions. Helena to the field hospital. Marcin and Pyotr to the old town assault. She would coordinate safe houses for civilians caught in the fighting. At 4:45, Tomasz appeared at her door. "I had to see you before it starts," he said breathlessly. "I need to say this because I might never get another chance." His eyes held hers. "I'm fighting for you, Kasia. For the chance we could have a life together. I can't think about after. It hurts too much to hope. Then hope for tomorrow. Just tomorrow." "Yes," she whispered. "I can hope for tomorrow." "Promise me something," he said. "If things go badly, you get out. You survive. For me. Only if you promise the same." Outside, church bells began to ring. 5 o'clock. Across Warsaw, the bells were ringing. Gunfire erupted. Grenades exploded. The uprising had begun. They held each other as chaos erupted around them. Then Tomasz pulled away. "I have to go." "Tomorrow," Kasia called after him. "I'll see you tomorrow." He smiled that crooked smile she loved. "Tomorrow. It's a date." Then he was gone, running toward the sound of battle. Through hell the first day was fierce. The second day was worse. German tanks and artillery pounded the city. Kasia moved constantly, guiding refugees, tending wounds, carrying messages. She saw horrors that would haunt her forever, but also courage that defied comprehension. On the third day, Janina found her. "It's Tomasz." He's been hurt. The field hospital on WWII Street. Kasia ran. She found him pale and still, bandages soaked with blood. Shrapnel from a shell had torn through his torso. "You came," he whispered, managing a weak smile. "Of course I came, you idiot." She took his cold hand. "You're going to be fine. We both know." "No. You promised me tomorrow." He smiled. "I remember. Maybe I'll even bring flowers." They spoke softly about the future, the apartment with morning sun, the buildings he designed for the new Warsaw. Fantasy, perhaps, but it was all they had. "That day we met 3 years ago," Tomasz said, his voice weakening. "I think I started falling in love with you in that moment. Whatever happens, I want you to know that loving you was the best thing I ever did." "Stop talking like you're dying," she said fiercely through tears. "We're going to get you better. Promise me you'll keep fighting. Promise me you'll help rebuild Warsaw. Promise me you'll live a full life." "I promise." An explosion shook the building. The nurse shouted, "German tanks! We need to evacuate." Kasia and Janina carried Tomasz through smoke-filled corridors. The evacuation led to the sewers, their only escape. They lowered him into the darkness, into cold, foul water, and fled through the tunnels as Germans destroyed the hospital behind them. Hours in the darkness. Kasia focused only on the next step, keeping Tomasz's head above water, checking his pulse. They emerged in Śródmieście, still under Polish control. A doctor examined Tomasz by lamplight. "He's lost a lot of blood, but he might survive if infection doesn't set in. It's 50-50. 50-50. Better odds than most got in Warsaw." The long fight. Days blurred into weeks. The uprising that was supposed to last days stretched into a siege. The Soviets sat across the Vistula River and watched Warsaw burn, offering no help. The Germans grew more brutal, systematically destroying the city block by block. Tomasz survived the infection. Weak and scarred, he refused to stay down. As soon as he could walk, he returned to fighting, though Kasia made him promise to stay off the front lines. They stole moments together between battles. Once, hiding in a cellar while shells fell overhead, they finally spoke the truth of their feelings. "When we get through this," Tomasz said, "I'm going to marry you. Properly. With flowers and everything. I'll hold you to that." He pulled a tarnished ring from his pocket. He'd been carrying it for weeks. "This was my grandmother's. It's not much, but it's perfect." She slipped it on her finger. They married there in the cellar, with 2 resistance fighters as witnesses and a priest who'd been hiding from the Germans. It wasn't the wedding either had imagined, but it was real, and it was theirs to be. Why September? The situation was desperate. The old town had fallen. Thousands were dead. Food and ammunition were running out. But Warsaw fought on. Kasia continued running her network, now moving through sewers more than streets. She saved dozens, then hundreds. Tomasz coordinated defenses, built barricades, inspired fighters to hold on just one more day. On October 2nd, 63 days after it began, the order came to surrender. The uprising was over. They had lost. The Germans granted fighters safe passage as prisoners of war, an unusual mercy. Civilians were expelled from the city. Hitler ordered Warsaw completely destroyed, every building razed. Kasia and Tomasz were separated at the processing center. She was sent to a camp for political prisoners. He went to a POW camp in Germany. "Remember your promise," he told her as they were torn apart. "Survive." "Tomorrow," she called back. "We'll have tomorrow." The camps were brutal, but Kasia survived. When the Allies liberated her camp in April 1945, she was barely more than a skeleton. But she was alive. She made her way back to Poland, to the ruins of Warsaw. The Germans had done their worst. The city was rubble and ash. But among the survivors gathering in the wreckage, she found others from the uprising. Found Janina. Found Helena. And in July 1945, on a street corner in the ruins, she found Tomasz. He was thinner, scarred, his limp permanent from a wound that hadn't healed properly. But his smile was the same, and when he saw her, he ran. They collided in the middle of the destroyed street, holding each other as if they might disappear. "Tomorrow," he whispered against her hair. We made it to tomorrow. We did, she said, crying and laughing at once. We really did. 10 years later, in 1955, Warsaw was rising from its ashes. Not the same city it had been, it could never be that, but a new city built on memory and hope. Tomasz had become one of the chief architects of the reconstruction. His buildings were solid, practical, built to last. Built for survivors who understood that beauty wasn't just about aesthetics but about defiance, about refusing to let horror have the final word. Kasia taught at the rebuilt university, specializing in recent history. She made sure the students knew about the uprising, about the 63 days when ordinary people became heroes. They had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. The youngest, born in 1947, they named Zofia, after the girl they'd hidden from the SS that August night. They'd found her after the war, alive, and she'd become family. On August 1st every year, they went to the monument for the uprising. Held hands. Remembered. Do you ever regret it? Kasia asked one year. All the pain, all the loss? Tomasz thought carefully before answering. I regret the suffering. I mourn everyone we lost. But the fighting itself? We showed the world that Poland wouldn't surrender. That mattered. We showed each other too, Kasia said. That love could survive even that. That evening, Tomasz brought her flowers, the first thing he'd promised her in that hospital, all those years ago. Roses from the garden they'd planted in their small yard, grown from cuttings taken from the ruins. Life from death. Hope from despair. Tomorrow earned through yesterday's courage. They'd survived. They'd loved. They'd hoped. And in the rebuilt streets of Warsaw, that was its own kind of victory.